Hello, I'm Doug Powell. Welcome to this special edition of This is a Prototype, the Design Leadership Podcast. Last month, I hosted a webinar on building diverse design teams, in which I spoke to some of the top leaders in design about the importance of building a more diverse, equitable, and representative profession, and what we as individual leaders can do to make that happen. The event was also a fundraiser for an organization called Diversify by Design and their program Design Equals, which provides design curriculum kits, teacher training, mentorship, and career guidance to middle and high school classrooms in marginalized communities. Design Equals is facing an urgent funding crisis, and throughout the event, we were directing audience members to the program's Indiegogo page to contribute donations. You can learn more about Diversify by Design at their website, dxd.design. This episode is the second of a two-part recording of that event. Part one dropped in my podcast feed last week, and if you haven't had a chance to catch that one yet, that would be a great place to start. My co-host for the event was design leader, educator, author, and TV presenter Kevin Bethune. And Kevin and I were joined by an absolute A-list of special guests throughout the event. In part one, we spoke to Oen Hammonds, Shawn Williams, and Ellen McGirt. We also heard from the students and teachers who were working with the Design Equals curriculum kits in their classroom. And in this episode, we're joined by Tysonn Betts, Omari Souza, and Debbie Millman. We joined the event with a short pre-recorded video featuring some of the middle and high school students in the Design Equals program.
I really enjoyed the design process, especially creating our prototypes. I chose a design challenge where I had to design a shoe for my favorite superhero. I really enjoyed creating the prototype itself, especially because actually making it and getting to look how I wanted to make it look and making it come to life was really a fulfilling experience.
I didn't want to just take all the ideas and be like, hey, I just want to do this and just forget y'all ideas. I feel like me just being a team player, putting all our ideas in one and then just making our shoe, I think that was the most important part to me.
I like the fact that a lot of designers were women. That was helpful to see people that look like me, and it was interesting to see their ideas and where they came from all over, the continent and all over just the globe in general.
I never have thought about design as a career. It never came up, even in school. I think I'll be much more interested in design or coming up with my own stuff. I just know that design will now become a very big part of my life.
More goosebumps.
That's just amazing. And what we don't think about is we think about the curriculum and kind of those important elements of this program, and then we hear a student saying, it was so cool to see the actual people who were doing this, and that was part of the light bulb moment for them. Just such a cool video. Such great stories.
Yes, indeed. And I think it's important for the youth to see themselves in terms of the mentors that they engage. It's like their future representative self. They kind of see that in action. So I love that.
And not to mention some of the work that they were doing, which we got little glimpses of along the way. They're so cool. Kevin, we're gonna keep moving along here. We've got another special guest ready to join us. We've heard already from a variety of voices from different points of view around this issue. We haven't heard yet from the inside of the business environment, those complex, corporate, dense, layered, confusing organizations, and how we navigate those organizations as leaders. And our next guest is going to help us decipher that and decode that. Tysonn Betts is an executive design leader who was a longtime VP of Design at Procter & Gamble. Tysonn, welcome, and thank you for being here. It's great to see you. I saw you a couple months ago at the State of Black Design Conference, and it's great to have you with us. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for the invitation to be a part of, a super important conversation. So thanks, Doug. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin, it's been a minute since we were in the same space together. So wonderful to kind of be in the same virtual room with you again.
Indeed. Wonderful to see you. So Tysonn, take us into the middle of the corporate environment and talk to us about the challenges you faced at Procter & Gamble to build teams what you thought was best for the company, for the target audiences that you served, and for the profession in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I think you did a wonderful job a bit earlier speaking on the challenges of being able to pull together a team of designers or even just multifunctional teams that represent the consumers and audiences that you serve, particularly when you're working in a global or multinational organization. I believe that having those sensibilities as a part of your team are tantamount to you being able to deliver design excellence. However, I think there are a few challenges, some I'll speak on kind of rather succinctly, that show up in a corporate environment. It is a hairball, as Doug said. It can be incredibly difficult to navigate, and it can take time to really understand what speed bumps are in the way of you being able to deliver what it is you want to deliver. Some of the things that I would say are most notable to me are, one, that any enterprise tries to set up systems to make their processes simpler and more streamlined. But that also means that you have one solution that's supposed to meet every functional need. And I would argue that design inside of an enterprise probably is the most different organization that has the most different needs. You're not just assessing someone's cultural fit for the organization. You're not just testing aptitude to be able to operate and be able to navigate within an organization, but there's also a portfolio component there, so how do you evaluate that within the systems that have been set up? So that is a very simple way and thing that needs to be worked on. But I also believe that there are some more operational issues that need to be done. Many times, corporations have school teams that go out and show up at different universities and different schools. And those school teams work on helping those students be able to understand what the process is to get into the company. And by and large, I would argue that most companies don't have university teams that are going out to the best and top design schools. They're going to the best business schools. They're going to the best engineering schools, but they're not going to the best design schools. That also creates another problem, much like the one that has been discussed, of exposure. So just as younger people may not have exposure to design careers and pathways, that also happens, I believe, at a collegiate level. Even after young people have chosen to pursue a design career, they may not be aware or as aware of the opportunities for career advancement and learning inside of an enterprise or inside of a corporation versus a studio. So those are just a couple of examples that I would give in terms of what roadblocks exist and how they're unique inside of a corporation or enterprise.
Yeah, but that's such a glimpse into that reality, Tysonn. And at the same time, everything that you listed off there is those are items and issues that design leaders, managers inside these organizations have the ability to influence.
Absolutely.
You're not going to do it on. How should I say this? We don't necessarily want to be doing it with a lot of fanfare and, shining a big light on it. But there are some important conversations that we can be having with our HR programs, with our recruitment teams about getting to the right schools to attract the right talent and to really build these teams in the way that we're envisioning here. And that's not on the job description. That's something that you got to kind of be just attentive to and to do, right?
And I think it takes a real individual commitment, right? So as you begin to discover and identify what these opportunities are, I think the next step is, like any design problem, is to really figure out what your approach and strategy is going to be to solve that problem, and going to try some things to figure out if it helps to be able to break through. So that means that some of us have to go show up in different places or build bridges and relationships in places that are different than what the default might be to help overcome those obstacles.
Yeah. Tysonn, you've shared with me a really powerful story of one particular executive leader whom you worked with at P&G, who had some advice for you that really had impact. Can you share that story with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And happy to share it, because it was one of the most crucible conversations I think I've ever had in my career. This was working for a woman who I believe was one of the smartest business leaders I've ever worked with. She was a president of a business unit, so she had an incredible amount of responsibility for the organization, for the culture, and ultimately the P&L of that organization and the role it played within the overall corporate portfolio. As I had been chosen by her to come lead and reinvent what design was within her organization, it offered an opportunity for me to really build a relationship with her. And in one of my one-on-one conversations, I presented to her a problem that I was running into as I was trying to build out the best design team for her organization. I did not feel as though the systems within my enterprise were particularly supportive of me meeting the goals that I had in recruiting and finding the people I wanted. However, when I looked at the organization as a whole, it was rather impressive how much diversity was in that organization at every level, across every function. And I said to her, when I look at this organization, I'm proud to be a part of it, but it's also clear to me that this is not likely an accident, that you have been very intentional about the organization that you have built. And I want to understand how you were able to do that while I'm running into resistance when I try to work out my goals with HR. So I feel like the world I live in and the organization I'm a part of is very different than the results I'm trying to achieve from building an organization. And she had a very poignant conversation with me, and she said, there are some things that need to be done. And when you know what needs to be done, you have to take personal accountability to make sure that it's done. There are some tools and processes that may work in your favor, and there are others that will not. But if you own it and you pay attention to it and you work with intention, then you can deliver at the end of the day. So I learned so much from that because, one, it showed an incredible amount of conviction and commitment to what she was trying to do. But I also felt she was giving me a lot of latitude to say, when the system works for you, use the system. And when the system works against you, learn how to work around the system, as long as you are working to deliver the organizational goals that have been established. That to me was incredibly insightful, because it also opened up my mind to the fact that the enterprise, the company, can state what its goals are, but it's up to the individuals within the company to make those goals a reality.
Executive sponsorship, ownership, these are things that I'm feeling. It drives action. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing resiliency. I'm also hearing persistence. I'm also hearing, like, don't follow the rules necessarily.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Rather standard design rule, I think, figure out what the rules are and how to work it.
Or what, rewrite the rules, maybe, the design brief. Tysonn, again, like with so many of our guests so far, I could continue on with you all day. We'd love to continue this conversation, and we'll find another time to do that. Sadly, we need to cruise along here, so we're going to let you go with great gratitude, and thank you so much for
thank you both.
Being here and bringing this important message
in this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tysonn. Wow, such a powerful point of view that Tysonn brings from the inside of those really complex organizations that are scaling design in important ways, but we need to be in there and making sure that the scale is happening in the right ways.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Quick fundraising update with the additional $250 challenge grant, the $500 from Design Observer, that challenge grant. We are now at $1,990. We are within just an arm's reach of that $2,000 milestone. Folks, let's get there. Please hit that Indiegogo, that link, the QR code in the upper left, and let's crack that milestone. Kevin, we're gonna keep moving along here in our agenda with our next special guest. A design researcher, an educator, a community leader, the founder of the incredible State of Black Design Community and Conference, and the author of the soon-to-be published Design Against Racism, Creating Work That Transforms Communities. Omari Souza, welcome, and thank you for being here. Sir, it's great to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. Thank you guys for having me.
Good to see you.
Omari, you and I saw each other just a couple of months ago. Actually, Tysonn Betts was with us at the State of Black Design in Minneapolis. Omari, I think your screen is frozen there. Oops, we're gonna maybe invite Omari to rejoin the thread here. Looked like his screen was just frozen. There you are, sir.
I apologize.
There you go. Sure. Now you're moving, and you don't have that awkward sort of frozen look on your face. Omari, you in your writing, in your speaking, you just convey the powerful stories about your own journey to design, and you do such a great job of placing that both in the historical context and the contemporary context. And I wonder if you could talk to us about when you see a program like Design Equals and think about your own journey. How does Design Equals work into the fabric of the current environment for design in your point of view?
I think it plays an important role. I think for myself, being a first-generation American, my family coming from Jamaica and growing up in New York City, I grew up in a very diverse place. Taking the train from the Bronx and later Queens when we purchased a house to my high school in Manhattan, every few stops you would hear a change in dialect, a change in accent. You would see different type of people, and the types of people that I went to school with while studying creative endeavors in high school, it was amazing. I learned a myriad of different things. It provided depth to how I thought about the world and how I thought about my own creative expression. And then once I got to college, where I went to school in Cleveland, Ohio, my college was nowhere near as diverse as it was in my New York experience. I often talk about and spoke to this fact when I spoke at my institution's commencement last year, that I was the only graduating Black male out of the 5-year program that we had. That wasn't just for my major, but that was for the institution as a whole. Which, was difficult for me. It felt like I was designing in a silo, but also whether or not my colleagues realize it, I'm sure it must have been difficult for them in other ways. In my writing and in my teaching, I often talk about the things that we produce because they're impacting diverse communities. It means that they will see a diverse array of problems that if they aren't necessarily thought of, can lead to diverse array of pain points. So for those designers that didn't have the opportunity of meeting people from different backgrounds, it led to solidifying blind spots that they had without giving them the necessary tools on how to figure out how to do it. So I feel that Design Equals functions in a path not just to help expose people of color to the industry, but also exposing makers who come from diverse backgrounds with diverse perspectives, with design solutions that can then share those with their colleagues that are already in industry, leading to more direct, impactful solutions with less pain points.
Indeed.
Such a powerful backstory. Kevin, over to you.
No, very powerful. And you mentioned writing, so wanted to congratulate you in advance for the upcoming release. of
Trying to get like you, Kevin. I'm trying to get like you.
We got a couple books to go, Omari, but
I know.
we'll get there.
I know.
No, but sincere congrats on the upcoming release of Design Against Racism. Very excited for it, which I now understand is taking pre-orders. So please tell us about your approach to that book. Who is the audience? Who are you reaching? What messages are you really trying to deliver?
I think the audience is broad. It's for the design community in general, but also I'm a big fan of history, and I'm a big fan of those that came before who are attempting to do the same work as myself. The book in general was inspired by the work of Zora Neale Hurston, and her book, The Last Barracoon, which was published after she passed. So Zora Neale Hurston, many know her as the famous playwright from the Harlem Renaissance, but before then she was actually an anthropology student at Columbia University. And all of her work as an anthropologist and much of her work as a writer focused on diasporic folklore. So she would travel the United States to these different communities, figuring out how do I capture these stories and share them in a way that doesn't further marginalize an already marginalized audience. And some of the motifs that she would use and techniques that she would use at the time weren't accepted by academia. They're accepted now, but at the time of her writing them, it predated women being able to vote, it predated women being able to own bank accounts without permission of their husband. It predated integration. So she was literally driving on her own during the Jim Crow era through these sundown towns in order to find these stories and tell them. And for me, it felt extremely motivating, especially as a professor, because we often talk about human-centered design, but even those statements aren't necessarily fully inclusive of all human experiences. So for me, the question then became, how do I leverage the work of Zora Neale Hurston and the approach that she took back then, and use some of those methodologies in terms of how we approach design solutioning today. So I couldn't do that, of course, without talking about history, as Zora Neale Hurston does in her work. I couldn't do that without then also talking about the pitfalls that I see with designers currently practice, and then also providing case studies and examples of people that are using similar methods in order to provide more equitable solutions.
All right, I'm in. I've already pre-ordered the book, but encouraging the audience to do so, because that is just a fascinating sort of mental exercise that you went through, and just the research aspect of it sounds like it was just an amazing one. I can't wait to dig into that, Omari. We do need to move on, Omari, quickly though. State of Black Design, still tipping. Coming up, the next State of Black Design conference. Tell us quickly about that, and we'll put the link on the chat so people can go register for that.
Yes, so the next State of Black Design event, Still Tipping, will be happening October 30th to November 1st at Prairie View A&M in Prairie View, Texas. It's responsible for putting out the most Black architects out of any institution in the country, and they're soon to be celebrating their 150th anniversary as an institution. We have a fully stocked plan for programming, similar to all of our other events. There'll be workshops, panel discussions, networking opportunities, and just the ability to kind of be free, be your authentic self in a space where you are learning to upskill your current repertoire and in career fairs and things of that nature. So it'll be a good time, as all other State of Black Design events are, and I'm really hoping to see all of you guys there.
And Prairie View is outside of Houston, right? That's just
yes. It's about 40 minutes north of Houston.
Okay, so if anyone in the audience is in Dallas, in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, you are in an easy drive for that conference. Get there. Kevin and I have both been to both the live conferences, State of Black Design, and the virtual conferences. It is one of the most powerful design events that I've been to, and super affordable. I know you've done a great job, Omari, of just keeping the registration fees for that event down to a really manageable level. So applause to you for that.
Thank you. It's been difficult, similar to the current program that we're fundraising for. Raising revenue for these types of things are extremely difficult, but we want to keep it as accessible for all the people that want to attend.
Omari Souza, thank you so much, sir, and best of luck with State of Black Design still tipping in a couple of months.
Thanks, Omari.
Okay, Kevin, we are on the home stretch here. I'm kind of running out of breath. I know you are too, but let's rally, man. Let's do this.
I'm loving the energy.
We've got less than 20 minutes, and we've got just an absolute, just one of the rock stars of the global design community to help us bring it home here. Our final guest for the event is one of the most recognizable people in the global design community, an AIGA medalist, chair of the Masters in Branding program at School of Visual Arts in New York, and host of the legendary and pioneering podcast Design Matters, an author, a leader, Debbie Millman. Stop. I could keep going. Debbie, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
This has been amazing.
So good to see you, Debbie. And congratulations on the 20th anniversary of Design Matters. So incredible. We've been discussing the critical importance of building more diverse design profession. And as I look back over the 20 years and more than 600 episodes of Design Matters, you have woven together such a beautiful tapestry of voices and stories from all over the world of design. So please talk to us about how you approach the curation of your show.
I would say that initially, 20 years ago, I didn't really think about creating a diverse space. At the time when I first started, I really was just asking my friends, some of whom were not white, quite a few of them, some of whom were not straight. So it was really more of a labor of love in trying to reignite my creative spirit. And so I wasn't really thinking about broader issues that maybe I should have more. I think it's important to be candid. It's only in the probably second decade of Design Matters that I began to take the show more seriously, myself hosting the show more seriously, and the type of guests I was inviting more seriously. 5 years of the show, I was doing the show on an online internet radio network. For anybody that was listening at that time, it could have been an episode of Wayne's World, opposed to Design Matters. And so, again, I wasn't taking myself or the show seriously. It was just a fun thing to do, to try to reignite my creative spirit. As the audience began to grow, as when I joined Design Observer, as opposed to having the show on Voice America, this internet free-for-all, and that's different than Voice of America, which is very different than Voice America. The late, great Bill Drentel was taking the show seriously and wanted me to take the show seriously and urged me to improve the quality, urged me to improve the way in which I was approaching the show, and introduced me to my producer, who is still my producer to this day. So Curtis and I started working together in 2009. And that's when I took the first leap into taking the show more seriously, taking my responsibility as a host more seriously, and thinking about my guests in a more intentional way. Oh. I was still at that point primarily interviewing designers. So there was still an aspect of sort of inside baseball to it, in that I was interviewing designers and we were talking about design. That's primarily all. But I would say by 2012, I started to broaden the guests. I ended up, both by intent and also, I think, the conditions in the world broadened the show's advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
I also came out. I also joined the Joyful Heart Foundation, which is an organization that Mariska Hargitay started to eradicate sexual violence in our culture. So I started talking about that much more publicly. And so the tone of the show has, in the last 10 years, I think, really taken on more of an advocacy role in culture, both by intent in terms of the type of guests that I invite and the conversations that we have. And that's something I'm really proud of.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Debbie. And I'm so glad you evoked the great Bill Drentel. Wow. I mean, isn't it amazing? I mean, Bill said similar but different things to me along the way. And I know for so many people, just saying, take it more seriously. Go for it. Like, really up your game. And what a powerful individual he was for so many of us.
And I think that my producer, Curtis Fox, who was recommended to me by Bill, he also urged me to be more intentional about what I was doing. One of the big changes that I made after 2009 was to eliminate the monologue that I used to share at the very top of the show. And mostly I started to do that because I wanted to spend more of my time in the research that I was doing on my guest and less on me about what I happened to be thinking of that week. And it was also something that I felt made the shows more evergreen, and I didn't have to think about what that might sound like 5 years from now when it was no longer current. One of the things that I love about having done the show for as long as I have, that it has become a bit of an oral history around creative culture, around design. And at this point, having done it for 20 years, many of the people that I interviewed, the elder statespeople, are gone. And so there is a record of several episodes with Massimo Vignelli, Milton Glaser, Linda Tischler, Bill Moggridge, really important people that helped Bill formulate the sort of culture around design that we're living in today. And I'm really humbled by the idea that anybody could hear these important people's voices, views, politics, advocacy still to this day.
Debbie, I'm gonna take that up a notch. I'm gonna say that Design Matters is the comprehensive oral history of design and creative culture in our era, and
I appreciate that.
It's just priceless. It really is, and congratulations to you.
Thank you. And Steve Heller and I are trying
to keep it coming, my friend.
I'm sorry.
I said keep it coming.
Oh,
please.
yeah. I mean, one of the things that I'm trying to do with Steve on Print Magazine, Stephen Heller, who's shaped my life in numerous, infinite ways, is to continue these conversations live on printmag.com, which is including now our book club and other voices in our podcast section, which also include you, Doug. And we've interviewed Kevin. I think we've interviewed you twice in the book club, which we've never done with anybody else. We've only ever done that with Kevin. And so that's another area where we're super conscious of the voices we invite, the kinds of books we talk about. One other thing I should say, and this is something brand new, and it is public, Roxanne, my wife and I, Roxanne is a woman of color. She and I have purchased The Rumpus, which is a very well-known, well-regarded, highly respected literary site. And we're relaunching that in the fall. And that we've been very intentional to bring in people of color that are going to be the editors of the essay section, going to be editors of the poetry section. Obviously, Roxanne is the co-publisher. So we're looking at very, very intentionally broadening not just the voices that appear in these forums, but the voices that decide who appear in these forums. And so it's not just me, a white woman, deciding, you know what, we need more diversity. And so I'm going to interview 10 different people of color from different classes, different categories, different genders, whatever it is. It's not just a white woman making these decisions. It's people of color that are making these decisions. And that, to me, is the most important part of this.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for bringing us into the future of your thinking and your work with Roxanne. Just really looking forward to seeing that all come to life. Quick fundraising update here, folks. We are closing in on the $3,000 milestone. I'm with great gratitude. Thank you to both Kevin and Debbie have offered up a $250 each matching challenge donations. Thank you both for that. That's going to push us not only hopefully beyond 3,000, but let's get ambitious here, folks. Let's close strong. And
payment's being processed.
Payment process. Thank you, Debbie. Let's push toward that $4,000 and $5,000 level. Debbie, we've got a few minutes left with you here. You and I, well, we've known each other for more than 20 years, since before Design Matters. We had early years together as chapter leaders in AIGA, and then at the national level of that organization. My goodness, we've been talking about moving the needle on diversity in the design profession for as long as I can remember, and yet here we are, still talking about it. Still work to do, still not where we need to be as a profession. What is your message to the design community out there listening today?
Similar to what I just said about the rumpus, we can't just hire a staff of diverse people. We need to make sure that those people that we hire have a voice in management, have a voice in decision making. So it's not just a staff of people doing the work. It needs to be the leaders in these organizations. So for any large organization, it is imperative that they hire senior people of color that are going to be making decisions about the way in which these organizations strategically plan their roadmaps for growth. So it's not just the worker bees. It is the management. They need to be embracing leadership that is going to make a difference.
Yeah, which speaks not only to, we've been talking a lot about recruiting diverse designers into organizations, but kind of what you're talking about here, Debbie, is career advancement and making sure that not only are we hiring diverse teams at the sort of entry level, emerging career levels, early career levels, but then we are making sure that those careers advance and into those positions where, they're in a decision-making role.
Yeah, absolutely. And there needs to be a plan for career advancement and training. Management is really messy, and people, especially designers that have been training for design and in design for their careers and their education, they need to be given the tools that allow them to become leaders. You can't just promote someone and expect them to be a leader. Doug, I know that, and Kevin, I don't know about you, but I know we've both gone through the AIGA business perspectives for design leaders. Mm-hmm. And that was a really wonderful initiative. We did it, I think, at Harvard, but now it's being done at Yale. As much executive education as possible, where people that are designers, that are entry-level, junior, maybe approaching senior designers, that can and have the potential to be leaders, to be VPs, to be CEOs, that training needs to be put in place so that there is a really sincere effort at giving people the tools that they need to be able to succeed. Hiring any senior person is really risky because they have so much habit of the way in which they work, but there needs to be a concerted effort. And people need to be sought out as leaders, no matter what level they are, whether it be junior, senior, executive.
Yeah. It is a common fallacy that leaders or a leadership pipeline doesn't exist in our creative field, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's just that the archetype of leadership might look different as you cast a net wide for diverse, incredibly talented folks that are out there operating.
Yeah. I also recommend that every single person in the design business read Dory Tunstall's work, because she is really clear on how this can be done from a logistical point of view, very tactical ways that we can all learn how to increase diversity in our environments.
Indeed.
That's great. Great recommendation there, Debbie. Debbie, you have brought us home in powerful fashion. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for 20 years of Design Matters. I can't wait for 20 more years, and it's just great to see you.
Great to see you too. And I'm so glad that you're doing this. I wish we didn't need to have to do this, but I'm glad that we're doing it.
Same.
Thank you, Debbie.
Debbie, thank you so much. We'll let you go, and we'll begin to close things out here. Kevin, wow. We've been on a great ride together in the last 90 minutes here. I need to just lie down, I think, and catch my breath. But
sure.
yeah. Any of just closing thoughts or impressions just in our last minute and a half or so here?
I mean, I think Debbie, as well as the other leaders on this 90 minutes, are just like true embodiments of what stewardship and sponsorship mean. And the fact that not only did we just hear from leaders with incredible legacies, they've created a path for continued sponsorship and stewardship and role modeling for the next cadre of leaders that can help address this issue. And hopefully this issue, we start to perceive it as an opportunity for the landscape moving forward.
That wraps up part 2 of this 2-part special edition of This is a Prototype, the Design Leadership Podcast. If you missed it, part 1 dropped in my podcast feed last week. Special thanks to Alicia Syriac, the producer of this live recording, to Scott Leach of Brandspeak Communications for his production support, and to Graham Barton for his original theme music. You can learn more about my work as a design leadership consultant, trainer, and coach on my LinkedIn feed and my website, dougpowell.design. Stay tuned for more new episodes of This is a Prototype coming soon. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.